Greetings everyone, my name is Dr. Jason Freeman. I'd like to welcome you all to my channel. So back in February of this year, James Gunn and Peter Safran, the head of DC Studios, gave an update on the upcoming slate. Now among the many announcements, they mentioned that the upcoming Batman film, The Brave and the Bold, now had a writer and was centered on Bruce Wayne and his relationship with his son, Damian. And while we're still very early in the development process of this film, there are several indicators that this will be the best Batman film we've seen so far. The first indicator being that Peter Safran and James Gunn have no plans to rush out this film before it's ready. Now mind you, these are the same people that refused to put out a $90 million completed Batgirl film because they felt it just wasn't good enough. One of the mantras that James Gunn and Peter Safran have put forward is that they will not greenlight a film until they have a fully completed, ready script. Now this is an important change because over and over again we've seen these big slates of films that have been put out without writers, without scripts, without stars, without any real direction whatsoever. And these films are all supposed to connect together to build a larger narrative, which did work for Marvel, through Endgame, but since that time hasn't really worked really any other place. The most egregious being Disney Star Wars. And this was even parodied in the 5th episode of season 4 of the show The Boys, where they showed the full list of Vought films featuring the Seven, which is the main superhero team in The Boys universe. And the problem with this approach is that you commit the films with a half-baked premise or undeveloped script that nobody really wants or asks for because it sets up future movies, or you own the IP and people are really into those types of movies right now, or someone's dream project. You want to bring that person into your cinematic universe. The second reason I think Brave and the Bold will be the best Batman movie we've seen so far is that James Gunn will be committed to getting Batman right. James Gunn is a comics fan. He really loves this stuff. He introduced most of us to Guardians of the Galaxy, and so when it comes to these properties, I'm very much confident that he will take care of them, both Batman and the other ones that we're going to see going forward. And while there have been some really good Batman films previously, The Dark Knight, Matt Reeves' The Batman, I would even put in the 1989 Tim Burton Batman starring Michael Keaton, I would say that we haven't really seen a really comic accurate version of Batman on the big screen. And actually, let me clarify. I would say we haven't seen a comic accurate live action version of Batman. Of course, there was 1993's Batman Mask of the Phantasm, which showed the Batman animated series Batman, which is very much, I would say, an accurate version of Batman from the comics. But speaking of ways in which the live action Batman haven't really lived up to what the comics have shown us, one of the big areas is the fact that Batman should be physically imposing so that he strikes fear in the minds of the criminal element that he's combating. Batman has to be able to stand up to punishment from some pretty significant bad guys, including Killer Croc, Solomon Grundy, and even Clayface, which we've already seen in the DCU. Now, when it comes to Batman being physically imposing, I would say the Christian Bale Batman as well as the Michael Keaton Batman failed miserably, while the Ben Affleck version of Batman really shines in this area. I mean, there's a fight scene in Batman v Superman where he basically takes down this whole room full of criminals. But at this point, it seems like Ben Affleck might be kind of done with the whole Batman thing. And so one person that's been floated out there who would be physically imposing like this would be Alan Ritchson, who is currently playing Jack Reacher. But in addition to the physicality, Batman is also known to be the world's greatest detective, and no other Batman really fits this better than Robert Pattinson. Now, Matt Reeves' The Batman, Pattinson's version goes through and solves all these riddles from the Riddler, and ultimately shows why his intelligence, his cunning, his intuition in regards to kind of how people think is just the best there is. I mean, arguably the only person who is more brilliant when it comes to riddles in that movie is the Riddler. And so where Pattinson might lack in some areas the physicality that a Ritchson or Affleck might bring, he definitely makes up for a lot of that with his intelligence. Speaking of intelligence, within the whole DC Comics and movie universe, Batman, specifically Bruce Wayne, is supposed to be the second smartest human on Earth, right behind Lex Luthor. And so I would argue we've only seen this intelligence shown off a few times in these Batman movies. Of course, with Robert Pattinson, as I mentioned, with those riddles, but also Michael Keaton in the 2023 The Flash film, he basically unravels and explains time travel to Ezra Miller's The Flash. I guess another example would be Ben Affleck's version of Batman, because essentially with some prep time, he figures out how to battle, survive, and take down Superman. But where Ben Affleck's Batman falls flat more so than the other ones, and honestly, of all the traits that I put out, of all the Batman that I've talked about, Affleck probably, based on all those things, is the best. Where he falls flat is basically a failing of Snyder, where it's the no-kill thing. Batman should not be killing his villains. Now you can make the argument that, this is an inefficient way to deal with these type of murderous killers like the Joker, like the Penguin, but the essence of who Batman is that he's a vigilante, but he's not the Punisher. He's not like these people. He's not like the bad guys. He captures them, he takes them to Arkham, he gives them a chance for redemption. The only thing you get from Ben Affleck's Batman is either a bullet or a kryptonite shard to the heart, unless your mom's name's Martha.
You're letting him kill Martha. What does that mean?
And so the fact that we've seen several of Batman's villains already in the DCU, if you count the Suicide Squad, you have Harlequin, you have Polka Dot Man, you have Clayface with the Creature Commandos, as well as Dr. Phosphorus, also from the Creature Commandos. He's not killing these villains, he's capturing and taking them to Arkham. Now, this was actually critiqued in an episode of Peacemaker, so episode 4 of season 1, where one of Peacemaker's neighbors makes fun of him because Batman has a coterie of villains and he doesn't. And he basically says, well, the reason that Batman has this coterie is I kill my villains and he doesn't. By the way, Peacemaker is canon except for that one scene with the Justice League, so that counts. We've already heard that Batman does not kill, which I'm all for in the DCU. I hope you're enjoying the video, but I just wanted to quickly mention that if you're enjoying what you're seeing from the DCU or DC Comics in general, why not buy a Funko Pop of your favorite DC character? I have a few myself and will definitely be getting more. To get your own Funko Pop DC character, click on the link in the description. Now, speaking of the DCU, the next reason I believe that Brave and the Bold will be the best Batman film we've seen so far is because it's going to be able to bring in so many other characters for other DC properties. Now, one of the common threads of the past Batman films is that, with the exception of Ben Affleck's Batman and Michael Keaton's version in The Flash, they've all been very grounded within grounded universes. No magic, no aliens, no time travel. Ouch. Basically versions of Batman that could very much live in our world and operate just like we operate as regular folks. But the DCU is different. You have a world where superheroes have been around for a while. I mean, looking at Creature Commandos, Frankenstein has been around since the 19th century. And so you have these super beings, super creatures, these metahumans that have been part of daily life. And so when Batman shows up, he's not just facing regular human beings, he's facing these metahumans who could do all sorts of fantastical things. Not to mention space aliens, not to mention time travelers, or even magical beings. Batman could roll up on anything on any day and he has to be ready. Now, the benefit of being in this type of world is that Batman's not going to just fight the Joker for the 150th time. He's not going to be stuck with just the Penguin or just Catwoman. He might be fighting Sinestro one day. He might be fighting Darkseid the next. And so in the Brave and the Bold, who knows who we're gonna face? Now I believe it's gonna probably be a Batman, traditional Batman villain just for this introduction. Of course, you have Ra's al Ghul and his League of Assassins that's connected with Damian, and so that's an obvious villain. But beyond that, I think you could have all sorts of even side quests or side characters that come in that face off against Batman and Damian, and so basically the possibilities are endless. Also, just a reminder, the Brave and the Bold comics featured a lot of Batman team-ups, and so you might have them with Green Lantern, the Green Arrow, maybe one of the Super family, so Supergirl or Superman, but basically you could have all these different team-ups in the films where you couldn't have that with, say, the Nolan Batman or the 1989 Batman. But speaking of Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, depending on how you say it, that also brings me to the last reason why I think that this will be the best Batman film that we've seen, so Brave and the Bold. And that is, it's going to center on the relationship between Batman and his son, the first time that we've really seen him as a father. Now, Batman has a number of children, most adopted, and we saw Dick Grayson in the Batman and Robin film previously, but even in that film, I wouldn't necessarily say there was a clear father-son dynamic because of the relative age of the actors. It was more of a partnership. Now this one, based on what we've heard, is very much going to be father and son, and so for the first time we're going to see that dynamic really play itself out on the big screen. Now this is a chance to see Batman at his most vulnerable, so you have the son Damian Wayne that he was not aware of. That's coupled with the dynamic that he never really had a chance to grow up with his father, get to know him, and so he's now trying to compensate that, make up for that with his son. Then you have the whole dynamic, this child kills, Damian kills, which goes against Batman's ethos, and so that creates this really tough dynamic for him that he has to overcome because he wants to do best for his son. And so for the first time, the main adversary of Batman isn't necessarily the external villain, like the Joker, for example. It's his own internal strife as to how to be a good dad. And so that, coupled with all the other stuff that I mentioned, really sets up this film for success, really sets it up for being the best Batman film we've seen so far. Now, if you found that video interesting and or informative, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. And if there are other things that you think make this movie potentially the best Batman film we've seen, or if you just disagree with me, please leave your comments in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.